everybody, it's me, Shell360, and today is a Target shopping day. I went to Target and I bought this album. This is TXT's new album, Freeze, the Chaos Chapter, and I bought it at Target because I guess this is the Target exclusive version. So I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. I knew I was gonna buy it in Target because I try to buy certain K-pop titles in Target if I can, even though I almost didn't because this thing was high. This album cost $30, 30 entire American doll hairs, and I really thought like, do I want to spend that kind of money on an album in this economy? Especially because like, honestly, for $30, I could have ordered this album from K-Town for You and gotten like a couple of copies for almost the same price, just a little extra for shipping. So it really was a struggle, but at the end of the day, I'm like, it is an exclusive title, and for years we complained about, oh, we can't get albums and stuff in regular American stores. So it made sense to go ahead and just buy it at the Target, spend a little bit of money, and support the team and hope that more of their albums show up in Target. I didn't buy their last album in Target, the Minisode. I didn't buy that one there. Hey Alex, but that's okay because that doesn't mean anything. I just had already gotten a copy from, I think it was either K-Town for You or Zen Market. I can't remember now, but I had already gotten a copy from another source, which is why I didn't buy it in Target. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and open this because I actually really dig this album. TXT is one of those groups that I really like. I'm tongue-tied. TXT is one of those groups I really like a lot, but I don't like them so much that I'm invested in trying to get to know them, if that makes any sense. It's not that I don't think that they're good kids. I think they're good kids. It's just that they're kids. And I'm just not really interested in getting to know children in that manner because like a lot of these boys are just a couple of years older than my own child. So it feels really weird to be like, oh, I wonder what their personalities are like. What's their favorite color? Where are they from? It's like, it just feels slightly inappropriate. Hey, Meg. So that's why I haven't really taken a lot of time to get to know them. I still don't really know everybody's name. But that's okay because I don't buy TXT albums because of thinking that they're cute or anything like that. I legitimately only buy TXT albums because I like their music. Oh, that's funny. I really like their music. Like, I'm not even kidding you when I tell you they're probably one of my favorite of the Generation 4 groups out of all of them. Like, it's between them and ATEEZ in terms of like competition for favorite, because ATEEZ I really, really enjoy for a lot of reasons. I like ATEEZ because they remind me of like traditional like second gen K-pop, second and third gen. But I like TXT because I feel like they really have captured the wave of the future. Like their music is where I'd love to see more of K-pop going. And so yeah, I don't really have any plans of getting to know them on like an individual basis because like I said, they're babies. But I'm going to continue to buy their albums because I just really dig the music. Okay, so Jazzy says, I'm planning on getting the album this weekend. It's been a while since I've been gone up. Yeah. I think that re-listening to the album is good. In fact, I re-listened to the album before I bought it because I wanted to remind myself why I was willing to pay the $30. So this is what it looks like when you take all the contents out. It's just a frosty little box. I, along with everyone that I've ever known in my entire life, have never liked these plastic boxes. We have lodged petitions. We have signed change.org petitions. We don't want these plastic boxes. Never have, never will. And I wish that K-pop companies would listen to our pleas and give us what we want because why? Why do we have to keep doing this to ourselves? Also, funny fact, I went into Target to get this album, and you guys know when it comes to K-pop, the girls are thieves. The girls are scammers. They're breaking into everything. And they had like these magnetic strap devices over every single version of this album. Every copy of this album that was in my Target had those like security straps on them with the alarms and all that stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm glad that they have found a way to keep the girls from busting into every album and stealing the photo cards, but also at the same time, fucking shame on y'all for making it such an epidemic of thievery that they have to lock up the K-pop. They lock them up like they're like game systems. Like it's got the real security band on it. So I'm like, man, y'all really have fucked this up for us all. But anyway, it comes with this card. So this is a group card. That is a very cute group card. I like that quite a bit. And then this is the back. I think this is the Target exclusive card because it says on the front, +1 photo card exclusive. So I'm assuming that this is the exclusive Target card. But I don't know. I think it's smart of Target to put a special card because K-pop's not going to give them extra songs. Like if you buy certain albums in Target, they'll put extra songs in the album. Like Ariana Grande, if you buy her new albums at the Target, they always add an extra song to it. Well, K-pop's not doing that. They're not going to do that at all. So I think it is smart to like, the exclusive is a photo card because we know that's what you thirsty bitches want. So let's give you a little something extra, especially because you're paying $30 fucking for it. So, Jen says, my Targets don't have those alarms on the albums yet. I hope mine gets them soon. Too many people still in the cards. I still have yet to see an open K-pop album or a locked up K-pop album in the Targets around me, but the people who do thievery for the photo cards are trash. I have a video on my channel. It's a really old video, but it was a video that I took when BTS first started coming into Target where somebody had sliced open all of the Love Yourself albums in the Target and had stolen the photo cards. So it's something that's been happening at least at my Target for years, and that's why I'm really glad they found a way to kind of quell the epidemic. Okay, so this is the big card that I got. This is really pretty. This is really pretty. I kind of wish this was in color though. I mean, I get that black and white artistic, but it makes him look like his eyes are really tired, and I bet if this was in color that it wouldn't be that. It'd be like a blush kind of color. He'd look more rosy or healthy. Let's see what else is in here that's extras. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff in here. So this is the envelope sleeve that the CD comes in, very much like SHINee's Atlantis albums. So there you go. And then there's the back. And then it comes with this sticker pack that comes with multiple stickers. I'm not a person who uses the stickers in albums. I always just keep them in with the rest of the packaging. Yeah, so it's 2 different sets of stickers here. Do you like this album? I have to like this album because I wasn't going to pay $30 at Target for this album if I didn't like it. And then there is kind of a mini photo book that comes in here. It's okay, so it's the same concept as the big card. So that same kind of Winter Wonderland, and I was right. It is like a light pinky blush that's under the eye. I kind of wish that was in color now because it looks a lot nicer in color. When it's black and white, it just looks like you haven't slept in days. I'm gonna try to find the original photo in color. Yeah, so it's like a pinky rosy color when it's in color, and then when you see it in black and white, it just looks like I've been up for 5 days. So I prefer it in color. But anyway, that's what we have there. Pretty. All right, see what else we have that's extra. Oh, a poster. Comes with a poster. What are my favorite songs on the album? I like the single, the love song single. I think that's really good. Anti-Romantic might be my favorite though. I'm pretty sure that Anti-Romantic is my favorite, even though I love the English I know I love you of Love Song. That's really chantable. In fact, I think that's what I like the most about Love Song as a single is that it's super chantable, and even if you don't speak Korean, the English parts that they have are super clear and they're in like just the right places to make it to where like I don't know anything else about this album, but I know this is where this English lyric is and I'm gonna shout it. So I like that. I've noticed that there's a really delicate female voice at the like towards the bridge and the end of that song that I really, really adore. I think it adds a nice texture element to the song and the way that the song is layered. So I really appreciated that. Anti-Romantic, I really like. I like Magic okay. But yeah, I think it's a good album. I do. I think it's a good album. I don't know if I like the Puma song. I haven't made up my mind about that one yet. That one I'm still kind of on the fence about. I need to listen to the album a few more times to make up my mind on how I feel about that. But anyway, Poster. That's what we're trying to unfold right now. I like Frost. I do. At first, when I first heard Frost, I'm like, this is different. This is weird. But after listening to it a couple more times, I'm like, you know what? I can get with this. It's still not my favorite. Anti-Romantic is my favorite. I don't think there's not another song on the album that touches Anti-Romantic for me. Okay, so this is the poster that came with the album, and it's that same kind of Ice Prince theme, like Frozen Flower Boy. That's what we're calling this. This is the Frozen Flower Boy theme. I love the fact that their hairstyles are very, it's like K-pop through the ages, if you look at it. Like, this is 90s K-pop right here, and then like here is K-pop back when everybody was doing mullets, and then this is like the Kama hairstyle K-pop hair, and then this is when everybody was doing the bowl cut, and then this is when everybody's like, we're all doing pastels. So it's kind of like a retrospective of K-pop hairstyles, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the nod to the past. And I don't have my bra showing. It's just this undershirt is like weird. It shifts around and it makes it look like I have my bra showing. Anyway, and let's see what this is. I haven't watched an unboxing for this album, so I don't know what all is supposed to come with it. This looks like this is a lyrics book right here because I don't see any pictures. I see lots of words, so I'm assuming that this is a lyrics book. It's interesting though because between every like matte regular page, there's a vellum, like a set of vellum sheets. Which, if you've never heard of vellum, it's like a kind of transparent matte paper. But yeah, there's vellum in between the sheets that I guess you're supposed to layer over the matte page to add like some textural elements to it. So that's interesting. All right, and then I guess the last thing is the photo book itself, which there might be a separate photo card in there. I'm not sure. I don't really know. So, okay, there are photo cards in here. Okay, so the photo cards. Oh, I like this one. I do. So like the art style on this, it's kind of like Art Nouveau style, which I really, really like. I like Art Deco, but Art Nouveau is also a fave. So do you see it? Do you see how the background is kind of, sorry, how the background is kind of Art Nouveau? That's really cute. And then the Star Seekers. So these are supposed to be like tarot cards, but like Art Nouveau inspired tarot card style. I think I heard somebody say that these are tarot cards. So that's cool. I'm not sure why they went with tarot card because I don't feel like tarot card fits the rest of like the Frozen Flower Boy theme. But I don't know. Maybe there's like the other versions have a tarot theme and that's the reason why that's a tarot card. And then here is the other card I got, which is cool because I showed this picture earlier. But yeah, this is the other card I got, and then this is the back. Nothing special. I don't guess TXT does signature cards, do they? Do they do signature cards? I don't think they do. And then this is the photo book here, and because it's freeze, it's more kind of Frozen Flower Boy realness. Yeah. Frozen Flower Boy realness. There you go. I'm dying of pneumonia, but I'm dying glamorously. I love it. I think it's hilarious. It's so absurd. That's the story card related to their review. Oh, okay. Let me get into it because I feel like I need to say that. I have no desire to be a part of any group cinematic universe. Like, real talk. I get that some people really get off on the whole idea of this is connected and that is a part of this and this is a part of that. And then the next album will... Listen, I can tell you exactly the moment I was spoiled for K-pop cinematic universes. It was EXO. I remember when EXO came out and they're like, exoplanet, and this person is a time bender, and this person controls fire, wind, water, heart. Captain Planet, he's a hero. I wouldn't know about that. That's something for the 80s babies. Anyway, all I'm saying is I gave up on cinematic universes when it comes to K-pop right then and there because EXO would always have these amazing teasers that would be like them in London and them in Cairo and sitting at a cafe when the windows start to shake or being in a mansion and the wind starts to blow and all of a sudden you'd be like, oh shit, what the fuck's gonna happen, what's this music video gonna be like, and it'd be like, I am the lucky one. I'm like, what? No, that's not what you promised us. That's not what you said was gonna happen. That you lied to me. And after that, I'm like, I don't want to hear this no more. I'm done with this. I'm over it. And it got even worse when BTS was doing their cinematic universe. And they were like, okay, so there's a butterfly that flies across the screen at 1.25 seconds in the video, and then in the next video somebody graffitied the word butterfly on the wall because that's supposed to link together. And see, Jin is dead and he's having the memories of all the other members back when they were alive, but then one of them died of a drug overdose and one went to the insane asylum and one of them set their house on fire. And I'm like, girl, what? I don't have time for these. I know. No, I don't have time for this. I need just to be able to watch a video and let the video speak for itself in the 3.5 minutes I give the video to speak for itself. I'm not interested in trying to watch 15 other videos so I can understand what the meaning of the pendant at frame 2.56 has to do with something that happened 2 videos back and it's a recall to those events. I'm not doing that. I don't watch Marvel movies for that reason. I'm not doing that with K-pop. So I get that some people, they like that little added layer, but if that little added layer keeps me from enjoying everything else that's happening, then I'm through with it. There's nothing else to do with it. Pass it to the crew, now you hit it. I don't want it no more. So I'm not a big person who's a fan of that whole, this all relates back to this thing that they told us about last time. I don't like that. There are moments though where it's cute. Let me not act like there's not some times where calling back doesn't make me happy. Like for instance, SHINee, when SHINee put out the Married to the Music / Odd album. The Odd album was actually where the song first appears, and they had Lovesick on there, and Lovesick was a continuation of Replay, which was their debut song. I remember in that moment thinking, oh, this is adorable, because the way that they connected it is like the storyline was like the Replay song is us when we first got together, when I was first hitting on you. Lovesick is about us at the mature age of our relationship. We've been together for a while, we're going through our bumps, but you know, it's always me, I'm always gonna be lovesick for you. And then they took the Replay choreography and they put it into the choreography for Lovesick, and that was the stage choreography. Like that was one of those things where I'm like, it's a callback. I love a callback. But outside of that, I'm not really looking for like a whole thread of things to all fill in together in order to make things make sense. Like this tarot card is cool, but this tarot card doesn't have anything to do with this Flower Boy Frozen aesthetic that we're dealing with right now. So I really, as much as I like this a lot, I don't want to have to hold on to this and see the next concept to see why this makes sense. I'm so sorry. I'm not interested in that. Anyway, let's talk some more about K-pop stuff. So that's the only album I have. I'm sorry, I don't have more to show you. I actually have several albums coming in. I had to reorder Rain's album from eBay, which I did. I believe that Jazzy, I think you may have been the one that sent me the link to eBay to order it, but I have that coming, so I'm really excited about that. And I didn't reorder Big Nasty's album because I'm waiting to see if I can like order some more stuff to put in with it, because I don't want to pay $25 for a jewel case. My spirit won't allow me to do so. But I have a box from K-Town for You coming in that's got the Joy cassette that has the EXO Dio version of EXO's new album. And then I said Big Nasty is Big Naughty. I'm sorry, Alex. And then I have Hayes' new album. And then what else do I have in there? I have a bunch of shit in this. I have a bunch of shit in this package that's coming. I have like 5 different things in there. I can't remember them all because I ordered them like a month ago maybe. But I have all that coming, so I'm excited. I'm excited to get Dio's jewel case. I know that's like really random and tacky, but I don't know. I feel like I've missed Dio so much during his military time that I just crave having something that's just him. You know, like no tea, no shade. I don't really enjoy EXO without Dio. Like there were a couple of stages that EXO did for Exoplanet after Dio had enlisted in the military, and they did a stage for Gravity, and they had Kai filling in for Dio's voice on Gravity, and I had to turn it off. I was listening to it, I'm like, oh, okay, the song bumps, I love this song, and then they got to the point where Dio's supposed to be singing, I'm like, no, 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 it's just no, no, no. And it's not that Kai's a bad singer. I mean, we heard his solo, you know, but it's just he's no Dio. Like, let's just be very clear. It's no shade to Kai. It's just a fact that he is no Dio. So I have really missed him. I really hope that he decides to put out a solo album. I don't think production has started yet on the movie that he was going to be a part of, because part of the reason why Dio had went into the military early is because he wanted to be in the sequel to this popular movie that he was in. And I want to say that they haven't even begun filming that yet. So like, since you got a little downtime, go on ahead and throw this solo at us. I'm ready to give you more money. Like, don't be crazy. Let me give you more money. What do I think his album would sound like? I hope it would sound like What Is Love, the remix. That's what I'm hoping it'll sound like. This is my property. Tell me what is love. I'm no Dio. Don't expect me to give you the same vocals. But anyway, if you've ever heard the Dio and what's his name? One of the songwriters at SM. Anyway, they do a version of What Is Love, just the two of them. It's not Becken. And that song is a slow jam. Like, it is a legitimate slow jam. And so I would hope that it would be more R&B influence, especially because like Becken has done so well with his R&B style albums that I feel like SM would be idiots not to do that. Like, absolutely, when you listen to Kai's album, that was them saying Becken's Delight went very, very well for us. Let's do this for Kai. So SM would be stupid to give Dio a ballad album. And I hope Dio's smart enough to not want to do a ballad album either, because nobody wants that. Fuck, Joy, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you and Wendy. I'm talking to both of you. Don't nobody want no ballad albums. I'm so sorry. Like, listen, I like you a lot, Joy. I think you're beautiful. I think you're funny. I even like your voice. But I did not want whatever the fuck that was that you just released. You are beautiful. I did buy the cassette version because I'm supporting. But I did not want that. That was not at all what I asked for. And Wendy, love you, sis. I'm so glad you're recovered. I'm so glad you're having a chance to show everybody the vocal powerhouse that you are. But at the same time, girl, there were probably only 2 songs I really got down for your album, and one of them was the one that featured Seulgi. I just need you to like just not be so concerned about making our hearts warm when we're feeling down, and give us something to shake ass to. That's what I want. Something to shake ass to, or something to get us laid with, because like that's what I want. That's why I feel like out of all of the projects that have been released from Red Velvet since Psycho, the Seulgi Irene project was really the best one for me. for me personally, just for me. I get that everybody has different tastes. We don't all like the same thing. There are some people who do not like Kingdom Come. Real talk. I know that is shocking, but I remember when Red Velvet's Perfect Velvet came out, the first one, not the repackage, and there was a reactor who listened to the album and they were like, yeah, this percussion is really ruining this song. And I was like, I know you fucking lying. I know you fucking lying. But yeah, some people don't like Kingdom Come. And then there's some of us who have taste. And I say all that to say that I realize that me not liking a project doesn't mean a project is bad. I want to make sure that's really clear because I feel like sometimes when I say I don't like a project, people are like, oh, you're calling the project bad. No, I'm just saying it doesn't meet my personal taste level. Like the things that turn me on, the things that make me excited, the things I want to listen to over and over again. That particular album, project, whatever, ain't got that in it. And if that's the case, then, there's nothing wrong with that. There's an audience for everything. There is an audience for everything. And in some cases, there's not an audience for something. And so I wasn't the audience for Wendy's album. I absolutely am not the audience for Joy's album. And I really, really hope that Dio delivers an album that I can groove to. And I hope that Yeri fucking shocks us all. I hope that when Yeri comes out with her album, that she enlists like Gray and Cha Cha Malone, and Zico gets out the military and does a song for her, and Crush gets out the military and does a song for her, and she gives us like a K indie darling R&B love fest. And I hope that she does it with a sickening beat, and I hope she does it with a flawless wardrobe, and I hope that she proves to all these bitches that she actually deserves all of her fame and fortune. But yeah, I just don't want another fucking ballad album. That's not my vibe at all. Or you know what? You know what Yeri needs to do? Girl, don't even do R&B. Don't do that to yourself. You probably don't really have vocals that match that genre. Yeri ought to pull an Olivia Rodrigo. That's what she ought to do. She ought to do an Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift, where it's like a super autobiographical album. Maybe not about romantic relationships because, nobody wants to acknowledge that idols have lives and maybe perhaps fall in love with someone other than their fans. But like something that like really is telling stories, like really go for storytelling and go with something that has like a quirky instrumental, something different that people aren't normally hearing, something with like staticky radio kind of feedbacky sound and like really sharp percussion and hand claps and just like all kinds of like very quirky indie darling type of sound, very organic, very like everything was made with real instruments, not like synthesizers, and just lay that on the girls. Lay that on the girls and let them have it. Let them eat that and see what happens. I think that it would do really well. I think there's a lot of people that would be here for the vibe. But yeah, I hope that Yeri does something interesting, and I hope that Dio gives us, like I said, baby making music. That's what I want. I will take nothing less because I would be very, very mad after hearing Dio's voice for years, singing some of my favorite runs on EXO songs, and have him be like, I've decided I'm going to give you musical. I'd be so mad. I would be like, what is this? I would be on this camera be like, what is this? Speaking of EXO, let's go ahead and talk about their new release, Don't Fight the Feeling. I really like the new single. I think I like it better than the single Obsession. I really do. I think I like the single better than Obsession. I don't think I like it better than Don't Mess Up My Tempo. And also, I just want to tell you guys, unpopular opinion time, because this actually is a legitimate unpopular opinion instead of like, oh, I'm just saying this to see if people will agree with me. No, real unpopular opinion. I don't like Love Shot. I know. How can you not like Love Shot? Kai's wearing a crop top and they're doing the gun dance and it's sexy. I will tell you why I don't like Love Shot. Because around the same time that Love Shot came out, maybe a little bit after Love Shot came out, that's when I started watching Tide BLs. And every Thai BL actor and their best friend would be like, "It's the love shot, nah, nah." I was like, oh my gosh, if you don't fucking. That na 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 became one of my most hated sounds for like a year. I don't like that song. I do not like that song. I much prefer Don't Mess Up My Tempo. And then I've already made the conversation starter before, but I also believe that Gravity was the best song on that album. So I just, I can't. I can't. I'm so sorry. Oh, you know what? You know what else ruined Love Shot for me? Fucking Produce. Fucking Produce ruined Love Shot for me as well. So yeah, I have big problems with Love Shot. Huge problems with Love Shot. But yeah, Gravity to today. To today. Gravity came out, and then The Weeknd's Blinding Lights came out. To me, the same. The feeling I have for Blinding Lights is the same feeling I have for Gravity. It's one of those ones, pedal to the metal, push it to the floor, drive as fast as you can. Just everything works for that fucking song. When that song comes on and you hear like them turning the key in the ignition and the engine starting up, already, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Pick me. So yeah, I felt like the obsession. I have said this before. I will say this again. Obsession is not a horrible album. I didn't like Obsession as a song because I found it kind of not memorable. But Obsession is not a horrible album. It is overproduced. Like, it is one of those albums where like a song will be really good and they'll throw in a random element that is just a little too much and it ruins the song. And I feel like with a little more editing for Obsession, it could be a much better album. It could be a much better album, but it's production wise, it is edited poorly and there's too many production elements to every single song. Probably my favorite song on that album is Yeah Yeah Yeah. That's the one that has the sample from SWV's You're the One, right? I think so. Anyway, that was my favorite song on that album. But listening to EXO's new special album, and it's called Special because I think that bitch only has 5 songs. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good summer album, even though like the pictures that we saw, like the cover, it looked very dark, and I was expecting more of a wintry sounding album, if that makes any sense. Like a more smoky sounding album based on the graphics. The album itself actually does sound very summery. I think it's really pretty. It's like going back to like old EXO. Going back to old EXO so far that I was like, time to listen to my favorite EXO album of all time, because this reminds me a little bit of my favorite EXO album, and if you know what it is. Let's see how many of you can guess in the comments. But yeah, I took a trip down memory lane, and I just have to say, like, thank you, Alex. I knew you'd know. I have to say, like, there are very few albums that you can pinpoint in discographies and say, this was y'all at your very best. Because sometimes it's just like, you weren't your best here, this is just the album I like the most. No, in my actual heart of hearts, like in my soul, I truly and firmly believe that Exact is EXO's best album, full stop. Like, I feel like the Lotto repackage was not necessary, in my opinion. It's got the perfect track list. There are no skips in that entire album. Everyone vocally sounds amazing. Sehun had finally figured out how he wanted to rap. Yeah, man. And I know that part of the reason I feel this way is because a lot of people at the time had said Exact was supposed to be a SHINee album. Like, when you listen to the tracks and everything, it sounds very much like a SHINee album. And I'm not gonna lie, I see where y'all are coming from. Just like when I've said that Superhuman by NCT sounded like a SHINee track to me. There are a lot of songs on that album that I'm like, I could totally see SHINee singing. It's like, especially Artificial Love. I absolutely could see SHINee nailing that shit down. But I'm really glad I got to hear EXO do the Exact album, because everyone sounded so good. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I don't really care for Chen. And when Chen got married and had his baby, the only thing I was really interested in was knowing when is the Skillshare course coming out, because I wanted to know how his baby mama did it. But outside of that, I have never really cared for Chen as a person, as a visual. But vocally, Chen has never sounded better than he did on the Exact album. The Exact album was a beacon for him. It was really him, in my opinion, coming into his own as the third lead. Because for a while there, it seemed like they were trying to push the three leads to be Dio, Baekhyun, and Suho. And I'm like, why do y'all keep inviting Suho to the picnic? Like, he's not a bad singer, but he is a boring singer. Like, if you've listened to Suho solo, you know I'm not lying. You know I'm not lying. He is a boring singer. And because he is a boring singer, I was just like, I don't understand why you keep trying to make them the trio when really Chen is the trio. And when you listen to the Exact album, it's like they finally got the ratios right. And they're like, yes, you are correct. We need to let Suho go back a little bit. Did you like Diner? Yeah, I liked every song on EXO's project. I didn't think it was a project with skips. I did think that some songs sounded more like B-sides than other. I think probably my favorite song was Promise, which is the second song. I really like that one a lot. That's the one that stands out the most to me. But I liked the album. I thought the album was really, really good, but Exact. There's just everything to me has never quite matched up. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm the first person that ever says that to you. Do you like Lay's songs? I don't really check for Lay that often, which is weird because for a while Lay and Dio were my biases, and then I kind of dropped Lay when he stopped kind of appearing in EXO tracks. I'm like, okay, guess you're not in EXO anymore. But I would say that for Lay, I get a lot of Lay's music secondhand. Like, I follow Akita on Twitter, and she is Agata Brown, or Aggie Brown, here on YouTube. Big fan of Lay, like obsessed with the man, her favorite, right? And sometimes she'll put his songs on the timeline, and when that happens, I'm like, oh, that's fun. I remember watching the Honey video and thinking, oh, that's fun, but also it makes me want to take a shower. I feel sticky. But I don't really check for his albums all that often because Lay's vocal texture is not my favorite. He has a very thin voice, in my opinion, and I'm just not interested in listening to a whole album of that. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a thinner voice. There's a lot of people with thin voices who have made quite the career out of it. Selena Gomez, I'm talking about you. So no, there's nothing wrong with having a thin voice, but it's not my personal preference. And so that's the reason why I don't spend a lot of time listening to Lay's albums in China and in America, because his albums pop up in the Barnes and Nobles all the time. First person I thought it was. See? But yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a thin voice. There's nothing wrong with it. But Suho, honestly, like, his voice is just boring. Like, he really ought to get a job working for the Calm app, because great, Janet Jackson, girl, on the fucking nose. Listen, Janet Jackson is a legend. There are so many songs in her discography that I know word for word. I remember being in high school talking about, allow me some time to play with your mind and to get there again and again. Close your eyes and imagine my body. And just take your time because we got all night. I knew all the words to If. I was around my house talking about, you're smooth and shiny, feel so good against my lips, sugar. And then all of a sudden I caught myself talking about, are you really around your house singing about putting a man's dick against your lips? Maybe you need to quit, Samantha. Maybe you need to stop before your parents hear you and you get smacked in the mouth. Anyway, I digress. Janet Jackson, one of my favorite singers ever, because I just really like the way songs come together around her and what she does to kind of make up for the fact that her voice is rather thin. But at least it's not boring. And that's the thing, like, you can have a thin voice and it be like not the strongest, but you do interesting things with it, or you pick songs that are really interesting and it keeps people engaged. For instance, I'm never gonna buy a Selena Gomez album. It's not gonna happen. But there are certain tracks in Selena Gomez's discography, and I have to tell you, when I listen to them, I'm like, if anyone else got a hold of this song, million seller. Like, this bitch is smart. She picks really good songs. Like, she had that song Hands to Myself. I remember really liking that song a lot. She had another song that was supposed to go to Rihanna, but she ended up taking it. It sounded really good. I can't remember the names of these songs, so like I said, I don't really check for Selena Gomez like that. But every once in a while, her stuff will come on the radio, and I'll be like, oh yeah, Selena Gomez. Forgot about that girl. That's cute. That's a cute look for her. But yeah, I think you have to really, if you have a thin voice, you have to really know your voice. And when you know your voice, you can make a lot out of very little. Got a nice package, all right, because I'm going to have to write it tonight. All the girls at the party, look at that body, shaking that thing like you never did see. Got a nice package, all right, because I'm going to have to write it tonight. So nasty. So nasty. And we're just like, this was cute. This is a summertime song. It's all for you. Meanwhile, Janet was a total freak. Man, okay, small digression, and then I'll take it back to home. Janet Jackson's Anytime, Anywhere. If you're not familiar with Janet Jackson, but you like slow jams and you want a nasty song to listen to tonight, Anytime, Any Place is the name of the song. It was my favorite song in high school. Like, I remember when the If album came out and that song was on it, and I'm like, this is freaking amazing. Oh my God. I cannot believe how good this song is. But then I listened to the lyrics and I'm like, I am not going to ever be able to play this in front of my parents. I'm going to have to hide this. They're never going to be able to listen to it. Because there's like, in the thunder and rain, you stare into my eyes. I can feel your hand moving up my thighs. Skirt around my waist, wall against my face. I can feel your lips. What the fuck do you think he was doing with her face against the wall? He wasn't kissing her face. I tell you that much. What do you think he was doing with her skirt up around her waist while she's face planted to the wall? What the fuck you think was happening? He was eating that ass. That's what was happening. And I was in high school talking about skirt around my waist, wall against my face. I can feel your lips. Girl, what the fuck was I thinking? What the fuck was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. I really wasn't. But anyway, I say all that to say, very, very talented woman, very, very talented people. It's all to taste. Everything is to taste. But anyway, I hope that you guys will revisit some of your favorite EXO albums in light of this new release from EXO, because, you know, it's hard to remember how massive EXO was because of how massive other groups are now. Like, a lot of the time when we think about EXO, especially if you're been in K-pop for the last 3 years, I would say. If you've been in K-pop for 4 years, you probably have a better memory than most. But if you've only been in K-pop maybe the last 3 years, it's probably impossible to believe how popular EXO was. It's impossible to believe what a big part of fandoms they were, but also what a big part of K-pop YouTube they were. There were whole channels just dedicated to EXO and collecting EXO and talking about EXO projects and all of that. Like, they were, I would say that you could look at the generations and you can almost practically define them by their biggest acts. So like, if you look at first generation, definitely you're talking about H.O.T. Sekis. If you're talking about second generation, you're absolutely talking about Big Bang Girls generation. If you're looking at third generation, you're talking EXO, honestly. And then if you're looking at fourth generation, you're really talking about BTS, Blackpink. And fifth generation, who knows who that'll be. But EXO, for a while there, like, out the gate, million sellers. Like, EXO EXO was not like NCT. NCT took a while for most people to warm up to and be like, okay, I like this, I can support this. Like, I don't think NCT had their first million seller until they were like at least over a year old, I believe. So it took a while for people to warm up. That wasn't the case with EXO. EXO out the gate was massively popular, like right away, right away. And when EXO started losing members, the K-pop world practically came to a halt. And this is how chaotic and just what a fucking big deal it was when EXO was getting ready to release Overdose. The Sewol Ferry tragedy happened. And I think it was on like the same day or a day before Overdose was supposed to come out. And there were fucking fans of EXO who were like, I don't care about a fucking boat sinking. I want my comeback. That's how big, that's how audacious their fans were, that they would be willing to risk the public being like, you selfish son of a bitch. But yeah, they were that headstrong about EXO. They loved EXO. And I remember when Chris left, everybody was like, oh my gosh, is the group over? He was the leader of M. What are we gonna do? And then when Luhan left, everybody's like, oh my gosh, Tao, Lay, please. I don't know what we're gonna do. In fact, it's so funny because I'm pretty sure that Alondra's not watching. But I gave Alondra my copy of Exolution because her sister really wanted it, and I hadn't looked at it in many, many years, so I was willing to give it to her. But the Exolution tour, I think Luhan was on, and he left before they printed the album, so they edited him out of the entire photo book. His voice is on the album, but they edited his actual self out of the album, and there were like random legs and arms that would just be in the photo book. You're like, whose leg is this? Why are there 15 legs here? This doesn't make any sense. There's nobody with only one leg, and it's because they had tried to like carefully edit out Luhan. And so I was just like, this is weird. This is weird. But Tao was on that. By the time that album released, Tao was gone, and that was super fucking messy because like with Chris, at least he was like, you know, on some real shit, look at how they treated XOM. You know, we could barely promote in Korea. We weren't really getting a chance to promote that much in China, even though we were the Chinese unit. I really felt like they didn't give a fuck about XOM, and I was working like a dog for no rewards. I was ready to get the fuck up out of there. Luhan was kind of quiet. Like honestly, he was kind of like, I'm really not in search of any interviews to talk about why I left, but if you'd like to talk about this deer I have, we can talk about that. Let's talk about Lou. It's been a long time since I listened to Lou, guys. When's the last time you listened to Lou? Yeah, but then when Tao left, it was a big deal because Tao was like, actually, let me get this kettle brewing because I got some tea to share. And when that happened, I was like, okay, all bets are off, gloves are off. He was all like, okay, so when Chris left, he had called me and he said this, that, and the other. And then me and Luhan had made a promise that we weren't going to leave. And then he left and I was all alone and wasn't nobody talking to me. And I didn't really understand Korean that well. And I just... I'm sorry, guys. I'm just so emotional right now because I really loved Chris and like no homo, but like I was willing to be his girl forever, and like he just abandoned me, and I know it was a mess. It was a mess. It was like a Diane Sawyer interview. So anyway, when that happened, I was like, all right, so when's Lay gonna leave? But he stayed around. He stayed around, and we were all like, I don't know why he's still here because he's the only one. But at the end of the day, I think that he made the best decision out of all four of them. And I mean, I don't keep up with like the goings on in China. From what I've heard, Lou is still super popular, Chris is still super popular, Tao's trying. He does a lot of those like reality variety shows. He's trying. But Yixing stays booked and busy. From what I've heard, that man don't sleep. For him, there are 27 hours to every day because otherwise he couldn't do what he does. And because of that, I feel like he made the best decision because by basically being the last man standing, and also because even though those members sued SM, and what they got in exchange is their contracts were upheld. Their contracts were not broken. A lot of them thought that they were going to go to court and they were going to pull a Han Gang and they were going to get their contracts broken and be free agents. No, instead the court said, SM controls all your promotions in Korea and they will get a share of what you're doing in China for like the next 5 years, something like that, like until your original contract is through. But Yixing, on the other hand, he was like, I don't want to not be able to come to Korea if I feel like it. So I will just talk to SM and explain to them that I am a cash cow in China. And I am willing to give you guys like 5% more if you will just leave me the fuck alone in China, but also make sure that you don't try to block me from any shit I want to do anywhere else in the world where you have a foothold. And SM said, you ain't said but a word. Anything you want, baby, you can have. And after that, that's when you slowly stopped seeing Lay with EXO. When you slowly started noticing, like, how come every scene that he's in, there's nobody else in the room? Why is he always dancing by himself? And it's because Lay's like, because I'm doing it remotely, bitch. I'm doing Zoom meetings before Zoom meetings were a thing. Like, I'm filming myself, and then you just edit me into that bitch, and that's what we're doing today. But yeah, he was very smart, and the move was smart in that, yes, he may have paid SM a little bit more money to let him do his thing in China. However, he retained the loyalty of all of the people who had loved EXO for years. Every single EXO-L who had faith in EXO and was like so worried that Yixing was going to leave, they were able to forgive him his absences. They were like, you know what? He still congratulates EXO on their anniversary. He still talks about how much he loves the members. He still shows up here and there to do things. He's still a part of the group. And because of that, a lot of the people who kind of steered away from Chris and Tao and Luhan, they stayed adoring Lay because they're like, he's still a member of EXO. I'm still supporting EXO when I'm supporting him. So like in terms of savviness, that was a really savvy move on his part. And I think that at the end of the day, probably Chris and Tao and Luhan are actually Chris is not. Chris does really well with his music. Like download wise, Chris does super good. But I bet in some ways they're kind of kicking themselves because they know that they alienated a lot of fans who weren't willing to make that jump with them to China. Whereas Lay, he's like, I haven't lost a single one. Everybody still likes me and they still buy my shit and I still make a ton of money. So yeah, that boy was smart. I mean, it's sad that, you know, his scene from Don't Fight the Feeling was, again, him throwing in his Zoom meeting appearance. You're right, they're probably punching the air. Like, yeah. You know, Tao's career is something, but he got that rich. Right! Okay. Let's talk about opinions that people have about different members of EXO, or at least Samantha's opinions about different members of EXO. Let's put it that way. Let's be very clear. I'm expressing my own opinions. You give me your opinions. Let's start with Tao. I remember thinking that Tao had the most interesting eyes I'd ever seen in my life. And I'm not saying it from a xenophobic point of view. I meant it. Like, I didn't think that Tao was particularly attractive because I didn't like his nose and like chin situation. But I remember thinking he's got beautiful eyes, like just really gorgeous eyes. When Tao left, I remember thinking this messy bitch right here. And I thought it because I'm like, okay, maybe this is just because he's really young, but it makes me feel like he didn't leave SM because SM was treating him so poorly. He left SM because he could smell the lawsuits coming, and he and his family thought that they were going to be able to sue their way out of this contract, and he was still going to be able to retain all of his EXO popularity and do his own thing. And when the time came to actually put your money where your mouth is, Tao found out the really hard way all the kind of SM bashing he did and all the kind of like SM was not kind to me. Unfortunately, some of these fans are company fans. It sucks when that happens, and I don't think it's right. I think you should be fans of the artist, but a lot of these fans is company fans, and Tao just wasn't giving it to him. Like the stuff he was putting out after he left EXO, a lot of people are like, I don't ever want to listen to this. This is not anything I would ever want to buy from anybody, much less buy it from you. And also, Tao kind of underestimated his place in EXO. Like, I think he really thought, because I was a member of EXO, people are going to want to follow me because I am popular. Instead of thinking, okay, if I leave EXO, I'm not the lead vocalist. I'm barely a rapper. I'm more mainly a dancer. How does that translate into money for me? Like, what is the strategy that I plan to employ in order to have a huge comeback? And the stuff that they put out after he left, it was like, it's just not enough. You're not giving us enough, girl. You really are not giving us enough. Luhan. When Luhan left, I want to say Luhan might have been the first to like give us regular projects after leaving EXO. But I remember thinking, he's just really pretty. Like, he was always gorgeous. Back when EXO was like at their height of heights with OT12, Luhan stayed having fanfics written about him because he was probably one of the prettiest men that the label had ever had. Like, pretty. He looked like a fairy. Like, he had the smallest little face, the smallest little button nose, the biggest eyes, the smallest little mouth. Like, he looked elfin. And after he left, he took that kind of elfin quality and he was like, I want these people to believe that I am a man. And I think you're right, Destined for K-pop. I think that he was able to give you something that was so totally different. Well, not totally different, but something that was so very different from what EXIM wanted to sell him as, that you kind of believed him when he was saying SM was really holding us back. Because SM, not for nothing, does a lot of gender play. People don't talk about it enough, but like Taemin with the long hair, Heechul, absolutely Luhan. There was a lot of that kind of genderless, gender fluid look that SM gave to artists because they played upon the fact that a lot of these young girls wrote this fan fiction and they liked yaoi and they liked to fantasize about different members being together. And I think many times Luhan wanted to be a little bit more masculine, have a little bit of a stronger look, and at every fucking turn, SM was like, no, you're the pretty one. Stay pretty. Stay with your blonde hair. Stay with your little bowl cut. Stay pretty. And when he came out with stuff, he was like, I am the Chinese Justin Bieber. That is what it is. I'm feeding you young boy sex appeal. I'm feeding you like, I may be young and got this sweet face, but I'll fuck your bitch. Like, that's what he was giving you when he came out with his solo stuff. And I don't know if that's still what he's giving, but Luhan is the one that has had like the most dating stories about him since he left EXO. So like when he said, I may be fresh in the face, but I'll fuck your bitch, he wasn't kidding. Because he's constantly having stories about him, like new girlfriend, new female friend, new dating. Like he stays dripping in women at all points. Chris is interesting because Chris actually had to have kind of a personality rehab after he left EXO. Because the thing is, Chris being ethnically Chinese and going into EXO, it seemed like every time they had any promotions for Variety or anything else like that, they framed Chris as if he was like super hateful and cold. Like they made him seem like an ice prince. And when he left, they were able to use all these clips and things to make it seem like, oh, he never really liked the group anyway. He was a terrible leader. He wasn't invested in the team. We're better off without him. But after he left, he spent a lot of time, it seems to me, letting people know, like, I'm actually a pretty decent dude. And I actually have a lot of artistic uh, talent in me. I can rap and I can actually rap. I don't have to talk about eating cheese. I like can really rap. And I'm not getting an opportunity to do that. They've done everything they can to like push me in this box that's not me. And I really want to make sure that you know who I am. I'm actually like a fourth Miko. And he spent his time doing exactly that. I've seen him on First We Feast. I've seen him with the 88 Rising folks. I've seen him do all kinds of things to like legitimize his artistry. And I think that for a lot of people who watched him leave, it was heartbreaking at first to watch him leave. But after a while, we were like, you know what? He's right. The shit that he's putting out right now, he would never be able to do on SM. Like, honestly, if Chris had stayed with SM up until today, he would probably just now be getting his own solo. So that's why I say, like, when I think about Chris, I feel like more than anybody else in EXO, him leaving the group was really because they were stifling who he was. Like, he had something else to give, and there was no part of EXO that represented who he was, and SM made sure to mute his voice while he was with the team. Lay. My impression of Lay is that bitch is smart. He is so fucking smart. You can't put anything past him. He is totally focused on his grind. He's totally focused on his money, to the point that like he had a cat that he didn't even name. He's like, it's the cat. Because they're like, what's the name of the cat? Cat? He's the cat, you know? But anyway, he just seems like somebody who is really about his money and like doesn't really have time for human things. And so I respect the fact that, you know, he was very quiet in EXO. He wasn't really a person who wanted a lot of attention. And after getting out of EXO, he's like, I'm ready to seek your attention because now I'm doing it on my own terms in a way that benefits me more than it benefit me to try to be individualistic in the context of EXO. And so that I really appreciate from him. I really appreciate that, you know, he has been acting, he has been singing, he has been doing variety. Like, that man, anything that has a check with multiple zeros, you can find him there. And so I really respect his hustle. More than anything, I respect his hustle. I also respect that he is a freak. Like, this is a man that does not have time to date, but he's got time to get it in, because almost everything he's been doing lately has been fully sexually loaded. Lots of humping the ground, lots of hip thrusting into the air. Like, that man is getting it. You're right, Chris is kind of like Jay Park. Okay, now let's talk about people who are in EXO, because I've already talked about the EXO M boys that are kind of in there but not really. After getting away being listening to C-pop fans, I really don't understand what SM tries to do with these Chinese groups, because it seems like they promote as solos in China. I don't really know about their Chinese promotions because I don't really pay a lot of attention to the C-pop scene. It's one that's just so vast that I just feel like I would have a hard time grasping it. But let's keep going. Chen, because I already talked about him, so I might as well just keep on talking about him. My impression of Chen is that he has a really smug face, and it's very hard for me to feel warmth towards him because his face just feels so kind of like, I know something that you don't know. And it turns out, yeah, he did. He knew he had a whole ass girlfriend and was about to have a whole ass baby if he didn't know about it. He's promoting Obsession thinking like, this might be my last one. I'm just to have a baby. Like, really and truly. But Chen was somebody that I had never liked in EXO. I never liked him. I mean, from day one. I did not like his face. And I realized that when people talk about, you know, you can tell from a face what somebody's personality is like, that's a lie. Ted Bundy was a serial killer and he was quite handsome. Like, you don't know what people are like. But I say all that to say, Chin's face, I'm only a human, and it really made me feel like he was not a nice guy. And so it was really hard for me to be a fan of Chin. And it hurt me in some ways too, because sometimes Chin would do little side projects, and I'd be like, ooh, his voice sounds really good there. I really like the way he sounds right here. But at the same time, I don't like him. So I'm not gonna listen to this song anymore. Like it was bad. Like really and truly, his face during performances and in pictures just really threw me off of him. And it's very rare that that happens. Like I was just talking about the fact that, I don't know any of the boys in TXT. I just buy the music. Chen is one of those people, like, his face puts me off his music, which is insane. What a way to be. So that's why I never really fuck with Chen like that. Never did. I did not realize that he said insensitive stuff, but there you go. Baekhyun. Okay. I cannot talk about Baekhyun without talking about Chanyeol and talking about fanfiction. My impressions of Baekhyun and Chanyeol when I first ran into them was like, Chanyeol looks super dopey. He looks like a jock. He looks like the kind of guy that, like, you would be in a group assignment with and he wouldn't do his part, but then he would give you like a smile and be like, I just had practice a lot. Can you do this for me? Thanks, girl. You're an angel. Like that was his personality in my mind. In my fan fiction aidled mind, that was the personality I assigned to Chanyeol. Baekhyun, on the other hand, I remember thinking, like, is he real? Like, is this a real person? Because he was cute, but he wasn't, even today, he's still not cute to me. Like, his voice looks like it doesn't come from him. Like, when you look at his body, his face, everything, that voice looks like it should not be coming out of that body. Like, they don't link up. And also, he's got like really tiny facial features, so it's just like he's super delicate to have like such a deep, heavy voice. But also, he always seemed like he was scheming. Not necessarily in an evil way. Like, he just seemed like he was the type who would play a ton of pranks. And once I started reading EXO fan fiction, it was even more like driven home. Like, Baekhyun is like that guy who just everyone's parents love him because he seems like such a kind, respectful little boy. But then, like, in the background, he's the one who's able to secure the liquor for the illegal drinking party. Like, that's his vibe. And that's why whenever I think of him, I think of Chanyeol, because both of them seem like the kind of guy who, like, gets over on people. And, like, your impression of them is, like, because you don't know them yet. And then you find out, like, wow, they really be getting over on people. They really be doing dirt. So that was my thoughts about Baekhyun and Chanyeol. Now to talk about Dio and Kyungsoo together, because that was another pairing. Dio's my fave. And I think he's my fave because he just seems like he does not have time for this bullshit. At every turn, he just seems like, I am so fed up with you all right now, and I'm ready to fight any one of you. Test me, bitch. And every time people, like, try to assign different personality traits or try to nail down who he is, he constantly is like, that's not true. You don't know me. Quit trying to guess. Like, I think they asked him, like, what his favorite drink was. He's like, water. Like, you don't like anything else? No, just water. That's all I want to drink is water. Like, he's just so anti-establishment and just could give a fuck about being an EXO, honestly. Just really could give a fuck about being an EXO. He's like, this was a stepping stone to my movie career. Yes, I do have the voice of an angel, but also, this is a stepping stone to my movie career. Get out my way. Kyungsoo, on the other hand, not Kyungsoo, sorry. Kai, on the other hand, is so hard for me to understand. I really genuinely believe that Kai is a nice guy. I do. I don't think that Kai, even though Kai has been in two extremely high-profile K-pop relationships, first with Crystal from FX and then with Jennie from Blackpink, even though he's had these high-profile romances, I really truly think it's because Kai is a nice guy. But I also think that Kai is a part of that whole kind of friendship group with Taemin and a few other K-pop, Robbie and a few other K-pop people. And my heart feels like Kai has to really, really trust you in order for you to get anything from him. And I think that's the reason why he and Dio were such a good pairing for fan fiction purposes, because Dio seemed like he wasn't putting up with bullshit, and Kai seemed like he didn't trust anybody, and that it took a lot to get his trust. But once you got his trust, he's like, we're friends. Like, we can do anything. We can. You want to go smoke? You want to go drink? You want to go on a boat? You want to go hang gliding? You want to go party? Like, whatever you want to do, because I trust you now. And so my impression of him has always been like he is much like Taemin. Both of them have like stage personas that, you know, they put on the grin, they do the sexy performance, everything else. And then behind the scenes, that's when they shut down. And the reason why people think that they're shy is not because they're shy. It's because they're trying to keep their barriers intact. Like, I see that a lot with Taemin. No tea, no shade. A lot of times people would like accuse Taemin of being the evil Maknae because he seemed like he was like smirking and a little bit devious, but also when he would be by himself, he didn't really have anything to say. He wasn't a big talker in a lot of the interviews. I don't think it's because Taemin was an evil Maknae. I really think it's because when you have been in the spotlight for so long and that light has been so intense for so long, you start to get weary of the people around you and you really don't know who to trust. And so, you know, he knows that what he's putting on stage is what he wants you to see. But whenever he's in interviews, people are trying to tear down his walls and get to the meat. And so he has to kind of seem a little bit distant or a little bit flighty or a little bit shy in order to keep people from pressing too hard into who he is. And it's really only been in the last few years that we've actually gotten to see a lot more of like Taemin. And I feel like it's the same thing with Kai. Like, Kai, after EXO quit promoting as much, he really got a chance to like get out there and be Jongin and kind of give us a chance to see that he's still not nearly as kind of effusive or letting us into him as much as we got with Taemin towards the end. But also, Kai didn't have to go through the kind of trauma that Taemin went through. I think that the trauma that everyone in SHINee went through really changed a lot of things for Taemin. But yeah, I feel like that's why they're such a good fanfic pairing, because Dio's very no bullshit and Kai's very distrustful, and between the two of them, they find a way to communicate with one another. Xiumin. Kai has really been active in Variety the past year, so it's been nice to see. Oh, good to see. Xiumin is one of those people that I wish I knew more about him. I love his face. I think his face is so cute. I think he looks like a porcelain doll. He's adorable. He's got the sweetest eyes. I did not realize how old he was. Like, when EXO first came out, I'm like, oh, he's on the Maknae line, right? Like, no, he's actually grown as shit. He's one of the older ones in the group. He might be the oldest. And I was like, that's so surprising because his face doesn't show it. But he seems like just a generally kind of fun-loving guy, but I feel like because his place in EXO is not very secure, we don't get a lot of chances to know him. Like, CBX was a really good project for him because it gave people more of a chance to hear him, because I feel like in EXO songs, he's like a two-line guy. Like, you get one line in the first verse, you get one line in a second verse, and then we don't ever hear from you again. And so it's been really hard over the years to really get to know him, because even in videos where like the video is all about him, it's somebody else's song. So that's the reason why it's been very difficult to like pin down my feelings for him. My feelings are generally positive, but it's just been really hard to nail down because I feel like we don't really get a chance to know him very much. Suho. Okay, so Suho and Sehun, let me talk about them together. Suho comes across to me as a bit of a bore. Like, his voice is boring. He did this, what is the name of the channel? The channel that SHINee went on, and they had the little kids look at their videos, and the little girl's like, where's this oppa? And he's like, oh, he's sick right now. Or no, where's his uncle? Anyway, that one, I think it's ODG. When Suho went on ODG, I remember thinking, this man is super unlikable. Like, he is super unlikable. Because, like, the kids didn't know who he was. None of the kids knew who he was. And, you know, to be fair, he's talking to, like, 12-year-olds and 8-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and it's just like they weren't listening to EXO at EXO's height. So no, they don't know who the hell he is. Also, like, he was dressed kind of down, like he was dressed like a regular person. He didn't have on a bunch of like stage makeup and shiny costumes, so they probably didn't know who he was. But he was just like, "Oh, you don't know who I am?" And I remember thinking, "See, this is the reason why rich boys, you can't trust him. Like, he just, even if he wanted to appear humble, he ruined it the minute the kids said that they didn't know who he was, and his reaction was like, they ought to know who I am. I'm a big enough deal to where they ought to know who I am." And so I've never had a good impression for Suho. Like, in the beginning, I used to forget he was in the group, to be quite honest. I used to forget he was in the group. And then after a while, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that other guy that's in the group. But I just never had a really good impression of him because he just comes across as like just a bore, just a rich kid who decided he didn't want to get into his daddy's business, so he decided to be a K-pop idol. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want, but you know, I don't have to prop up your fantasies of stardom. And then Sehun is the one that, like, my heart bleeds for that kid. It really, really does. Because I feel like when SM picked him up, they were like, you're the pretty boy. That's your job. Your job is to be pretty. And you're not even like the pretty boy with a hidden talent. That's Kai. He's the pretty boy with the hidden talent. But you, on the other hand, you're just pretty. And I feel like for the first few years, they didn't try to do anything to give Sehun something special, something different. And it seems like only in the last couple of years, Sehun has decided, I'm just going to be a sex symbol. I think that for him, he's just like, since y'all gonna cast me as that pretty boy, let me give you something to look at. And I feel like that's kind of how he's been. Like, he just got to a point before he and Chanyeol did their like duet thing. He just got to a point where he's like, you know what? I just don't give a fuck anymore. I just really don't. I don't care. I'm just, if y'all are just gonna pay me to be here, then anything I want to do at any other time of the day or night, I'm just gonna do. Are we having an interview and you want to talk about my personal life? Yeah, I like guys. So what? What are you gonna do? Like, he just doesn't care. He just does not care. And on the one hand, I'm glad that he feels enough freedom in his position and in his career that he no longer has to like kind of constrain himself for the purposes of SM. But at the other hand, I sometimes wonder, like, if Sehun was given more training, if he was given more of a role, like a concrete role, than just like, you're gonna be the rapper because you can't sing and you're not a great dancer. Like, if they had given him something else, I can only imagine who he could have been. And you see glimpses of it and peeks into it every once in a while. Like, one thing no one ever talks about is how good Sehun is at transforming his rap style from album to album to album. Like, he never sounds the same. Like, if you listen to him rapping on Don't Fight the Feeling, and then you go back and you listen to Lucky One, that sounds like two different people. He really is a chameleon when it comes to his rap verses on EXO songs. But he's not writing them for the most part, so he has the luxury of being able to do that. But he's somebody that I really feel like if they had just invested a little bit more time in him and they had really tried to give him something else other than you're the what was it called? Is it the Uljang? The ones like the pretty faces. If they had given that to him, I think he could have done some really amazing things. I think he could have done a lot more. Yeah, I don't think they know what to do with him either. But that's the thing, like, I feel like Sehun and Xiumin, both of them, they don't know what to do with them a lot of the time. And, you know, there used to be times when there were 12 members of the group singing on one song. Like, how do you have room for anybody to be anything? How do you have room for anybody to be anything? So, yeah, I don't know. I feel my heart bleeds for him because I feel like they grabbed him up super young. They stuck him in this group. They really didn't have any intentions for growth for him. They never really tried, and he's had to find his own way. And the only thing that I hope is that by the time all of the members of EXO decide that they don't want to be with SM anymore, whenever that day comes, I hope that all of them find soft places to land. Because, not for nothing, I mentioned it earlier, just in passing, but Sehun, more than any other member of EXO, has been the brunt of a lot of homophobia and homosexual kind of guessing game. Like, there's always members of groups that the public is like, that's the gay one. Like, obviously Key is the one that most people look at, and SHINee, even though really they have to look at practically the whole group, because them boys get it in, and they get it in with whatever they happen to fancy on that hour. But Sehun gets a lot of that drama. In fact, when Chanyeol had his whole scandal of the dating relationship and he's cheating on me, even though the focus should have been on Chanyeol. If you're the person telling this story and you want to talk about what a bad boyfriend your boyfriend was, why did you have to throw in and Sehun's gay? Why did you have to do that? What was the point of that? What was the point of just casually trying to out somebody because you're mad at somebody else? I mean, even if it's fake, like, what did this kid do to be thrown into the fire? And I think a lot of times SM, at the very minimum, does its job in terms of they try very hard with their actively promoting groups to quash any kind of sex scandals. Like, when you look at SM, like, really look at SM, sex scandals are not a thing at SM. Dating rumors, yes. Sex scandals, not really. You know, and believe me, there are thousands of women who could say, I have been dicked down by somebody at SM. Like, if you go all the way back to the HOT days, then you know, multiply that by all the groups over all the decades, there are thousands of women who could say, yeah, I sure did. It was me, absolutely. But it hadn't really happened. In fact, even with Hyuchin, his sex scandal didn't come out. Actually, his rape scandal didn't come out until after he left SM. Because SM, they might not spend money on a lot of things, but they spend money on paying these bribes. Allegedly, sprinkle. Allegedly, I'm assuming these are not facts. And so, if the time came where different members of EXO weren't under SM's protection and didn't have SM's kind of network of protective bodies and entities, I don't know how things will work out for him. I don't know how things will work out for him because he's such a focus and such a target. Like, quiet as it's kept, Key's one of the smartest men that you've seen in a long time, and you might not know this. Key did something that is so ahead and so actually it wasn't that forward thinking, because they watched Cheechel do it first and they said, you know what, you damn right, I ought to be doing that too. Key said to himself, more than likely, this idol shit's gonna fade, and when this idol shit fades, I need something to do. And what's the best way to keep me in front of new faces? What's the best way to get me firmly entrenched in the culture outside of me being in SHINee? I know, variety. Just like Hyuchul is almost more known to a younger generation for being in Knowing Brothers than for being in Super Junior, Key, on his variety show, that it's like Hello Saturday or something. Amazing Saturday, I think is what it's called. I can't remember the name of the show. Damn, I feel, what a shitty shower. Anyway, by placing himself there, Key is like, a whole new generation is going to grow up with me. And they're going to grow up with me knowing my personality. They're going to grow up with me knowing I like girl group dances. They're going to grow up with me being sassy and fabulous and everything else. And when the time comes, when I'm eventually outed, which is probably going to come because people are assholes, I'm going to have engendered so much goodwill in this younger generation, these people who feel like they know me, like I'm their brother, their uncle, their friend, that they're not going to be able to ruin me because I'm a part of your household now. You love me. Who cares who I date? You love me. And I don't think that Sehun's had those kinds of opportunities. I don't think he has. Whereas Key always made it a point to have another gig outside of SHINee. He always was looking for a way to be like, survival of the fittest. What's the next move? What's the contingency plan? He's always done that. And so, with that being said, I really and sincerely hope. I hope I've gotten every member of EXO. I think I did. Let's see. I got the 4, and then I got I did. I got them all. I just want to make sure. I make sure I didn't lose anybody. But yeah, I think that Sehun, with SM not really spending the time to help prep him the way they could have, they've really diminished kind of his survival chances once he's out of SM. And I hope he finds a safe place to land. I really, really do. Because he deserves it. You know, this boy gave up a big chunk of his teen years in order to do this thing. So he deserves to be able to cash in on his investment. But those are my thoughts about EXO. So what I feel about them. I've really enjoyed EXO for a really long time. I've enjoyed their music for a really long time. There are certain songs that EXO has that will forever be classics. Like, I don't care who you are. When you hear that, call me baby. When you hear that, like, kind of echo in a hallway sound at the beginning of Call Me Baby, like, it's over. It's a wrap. It's right there. And so, like, there's just too many gems. There's Call Me Baby, there's Monster, there's Don't Mess Up My Tempo, if you're talking about contemporary songs. There's even Love Shot, which I already told you is not my favorite thing in the world. Miracles in December. Just, there's so many. Overdose, gosh, I almost didn't mention that. Growl, hell, even Wolf. Even though Wolf is such a fucking mess, even Wolf, like, there's just fundamentals of K-pop sitting in their discography. They're very much like Girls' Generation in that, like, you can look at them and there's at least one song on every album that you're like, that is a memorable moment. And so with that, I'm glad to see them back. I wish them good things, but I also feel like the future is uncertain. The future is uncertain. Like, as it stands, there's already people who are talking about how they think that Chanyeol shouldn't be let back in the group when he gets out the military. People are saying that Chin shouldn't be let back in the group when he gets out the military. People who still like, is Lay even really in the group because he's barely there? Like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of criticisms about EXO and don't really want to see it for them. There's even people who love EXO who hate the fact that EXO are on SM. And because of that, you know, it's not guaranteed that when this SM thing dissolves for them, that they'll all find places in entertainment. You know, like, you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. Look at how stunningly brilliant 2NE1 was as a group. Look at what the mediocre results of their solo careers have been. And I say mediocre because I'm not going to call them flops, but mediocre compared to where they were as a group. That just goes to show you can be super popular and be middling as a solo. And so if the boys from EXO decide that they don't want to be EXO anymore, and some of them decide to leave the label, it's not guaranteed that they're all going to go on to greener pastures. I think that's the thing that's kept Super Junior on the label for so long. I think they watched what happened with HOT. I think they paid very close attention to the Shinhwa situation when it was shaky for a couple of years. And they were like, you know, I think that if they're willing to let us release albums, we're just going to stay right here. We're just going to insinuate ourselves into variety everywhere we go and just sit right here. Even SHINee. I feel like SHINee ain't going nowhere. Unless SM gets bought by another company, SHINee ain't going nowhere. Because there's a certain amount of security to their positions on the label. But if EXO truly believes, like, we don't want to be EXO the group anymore, and we want to move on, I just don't know if everyone in that group has an exit strategy. Absolutely, Baekhyun does. Baekhyun has established, like, I can sing the phone book and you bitches will buy it, so I'm gonna be fine. Dio has said, like, I'm an actor. Like, this is, EXO is a side project for me. I'm an actor. And the rest of them, I don't know if they've done things to necessarily secure their place. I tried to watch Suho's drama. I couldn't do it. His face just wasn't giving it for me. But yeah, like, what are the plans? Because it's not easy. It's like someone mentioned in the chat, you know, Sunmi becoming who she became after Wonder Girls is practically a miracle. Even Chungha, what she managed to do after Produce, she did what no one else from Produce did. She made a career out of being a singer. As stunning as that sounds, she's the only one out of all of Produce who made a career out of being a singer. Everyone else's career is out of being like a part of a bigger group, or maybe they did really well when they got out of it, but then sales started to slump. But she is literally the only one, well, her and Kang Danielle, who made it out of her particular group of Produce and like, I'm here, bitch. I'm doing it. You didn't see it for me. You didn't see it for me when I auditioned. You didn't see it for me through the course of the show, but I did it, bitch. I'm here. And so, yeah, like, you just never know what's gonna work. But it's so hard. It is so hard. Preston had multiple members of the first season of Produce in their group, and they couldn't make it happen. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard out there. It's so hard out there. But anyway, I better go. I've been on for an hour and a half, which I did not really intend to be. I wanted to talk about EXO's comeback, and I wanted to talk about this particular album, but I wasn't intending to do like a whole kind of rundown of my thoughts and opinions. That wasn't where I meant for this to go. But I'm glad we had this conversation because, you know, you can leave your thoughts in the comments and, you know, tell me how you feel about different members of EXO and how you feel about their discography, their careers, what they've done. I know that everyone feels different. And I don't feel like anyone has necessarily a wrong opinion unless your opinion is hateful, in which case you're wrong, because when's the last time you made a K-pop album? But outside of that, I feel like, you know, everyone's got a right to how they feel about things. And so I want to hear from you. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Also, 2PM's coming back. I cannot end this live without talking about that. So I'm going to go, but just FYI. 2PM is coming back, and I can't wait to see what they do. I mean, Ad Toy, to this day, one of the sexiest songs I've ever heard in K-pop. There's very few people touching that. And so I'm excited to see what 2PM does. I'm not expecting it to be massive, not because I have doubts about 2PM and their popularity. It's just, it has been a really long time. I want to say it's been, 5 years since the last full 2PM release. So like, yeah, it's been a minute since we've had 2PM, but I'm really proud that they're doing it. Also because they are the grand experiment, because I think Brown Eyed Girls is the only K-pop group where all the members were on different labels, but they still did promotions together as a group. And there's so many groups who are like, oh, we all left the label, but I swear we're going to get together and do stuff. OGG. OGG. But they don't. Yeah. But 2PM coming back on JYP after everyone has branched out to the winds is phenomenal. And if it works, wow. Just think about the potential. If this shit works, we might get a 2NE1 album. Just saying. You know, there might be a couple other things in the woodwork if this shit works for 2PM. So this is the grand experiment. I cannot wait to see what happens. But anyway, like I said, I gotta go. This was fun. I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Oh, press the button wrong.